Hello, I'm James Cridland, the Radio Futurologist, and this is Radioland, my international radio trends newsletter for September the 14th, 2025, Pennine Radio's reunion. Built in 1864, a large building at 39 to 45 Wells Street in Bradford was used as wool warehouses built for the yarn merchants Hayman and Alexander. Louis Hayman came from Hamburg in Germany, as did many of the people who owned businesses in the area, hence why this area of Bradford is called Little Germany. It was one of 50 wool warehouses there. The building became Grade 2 listed in 1983, and it's now, not that you'd know it, an exclusive set of apartments, even though, to be fair, it does look almost abandoned from the outside. It was also the home of Pennine Radio, latterly The Pulse, from 1975 to about 2010. There was a door which had a large illuminated sign above it. To the left of the door, a little kiosk selling newspapers, cigarettes and confectionery. To the right, windows in the basement which looked down into the programming department, and above was the sales office, the windows now blocked off with wood, but the creative production department was up there as well. The studios were to the back of the building, underground, entirely without any natural light, and built to the exacting IBA specifications of the mid-1970s. There was one large on-air studio and two others surrounding an MCR, a main control room with racks of equipment. And it was where I got my first job, at the age of 18. 50 years after the launch of the station, we had a reunion last night in a nearby hotel. And many people were there, nobody representing current owners Bauer, of course, but 4 staff from the launch day were there, including on-air talents Dorothy Box, who left in 1989, and Peter Levy, now best known for his BBC television appearances. The thing about a first job is that you don't yet know enough about anything. I believe that Ian James, the commercial production engineer, was just how a commercial production engineer was, not appreciating that he was uniquely talented and someone really special. I didn't really know why the station director, Steve Martin, was an astute and clever programmer, turning the station into number 1 in the market. I didn't know why my initial boss, the creative writer Paul Renard, was a bright and inspiring person. I just assumed that everyone in radio was that way, and that there was no space for the mediocre and the disinterested. It was excellent to see so many faces that I knew. Some faces were much older, some surprisingly appeared no different than I remembered, and at least 2 looked younger than I remembered them. I wasn't the only person to travel across oceans to be there either. This morning I walked around Saltaire, and I looked at an exhibition of photographs by Ian Beasley. The photographs on display show large black and white pictures of people working in industries that are now long gone, large clanking machines and physical generational know-how replaced by efficiency from overseas. And Pennine Radio is long gone too. After 2010, the station moved to a modern office block close by. In 2021, now owned by a German-owned media group, the station moved to Leeds, and in 2024 it was renamed Hits, and in June of this year all local programming ceased. While the transmitters still operate, they hum to the sound of a Manchester or London-based station, and to automated output run entirely by computers. No juggling of carts, reels of tape, fax machines or vinyl records, and no experiences of being the only person in the building, running a radio station all by yourself. That warm and fuzzy feeling of seeing so many friends again was tempered by the knowledge that I was seeing many, sadly, for the last time, and that just as the Beasley photographs showed so eloquently, the industry has changed forever. Elsewhere, I was interviewed by Dave Charles for Radio Info with some good questions about radio. The headline is, "The issue isn't radio finding talent, the issue is radio stations convincing creators to work in radio." You can expect more inconvenient truths in the article. You'll find it linked from the show notes today. I know little about this other than copying and pasting the press release, but there's a company called Zeno Plus, which looks interesting, from Zeno Radio. It's a system that takes a radio stream, it removes ads, adds transcripts and chapter markers, automates intros and outros, and even adds AI-generated information like weather or news, as well as ads and stuff like that as well. I'd think that I'd suggest we should be increasingly making content that works for on-demand first, and then also using it for on-air. But frankly, anything that makes content reuse better is a good plan. You can read the press release about Zeno Plus, again, linked from the show notes today. The BBC has quietly added Listen Again buttons. It did that a while ago for some of its output on the BBC audio programme schedule for BBC Radio 4 on desktop. That's one of 3 different URLs to find the schedule of that radio station on the BBC website. Embarrassed smiley face. They're nicely done anyway. They link through to ad-supported podcasts where they existed and to a catch-up service where they don't. And it means that the Today programme or PM are available in their entirety once more for non-UK listeners. Now, those buttons are still not there on the app, and the majority of on-demand listening happens on the app. So I did think the BBC app was a web wrapper, but it appears not. But you would assume that they will get around to adding those relatively quickly. Also, a new BBC World Service podcast launched on Monday, More Than the Score, added to BBC Sounds for launch, but wasn't initially available on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It's now available in both, although a week after launch, this podcast is still not available on BBC Audio. I'm not sure they're taking it very seriously, are they? And finally, listening to LBC on TuneIn in London, I was treated to a promo for the new Apple Music radio stations as a pre-roll ad. It sounded as if it was voiced by Apple Talent too, which was interesting. Now, I listened to LBC online, live, from Heathrow Airport all the way to Liverpool Street on the Elizabeth line, uninterrupted. And I walked to the Hammersmith and City line while still listening uninterrupted. It was only when I got to the Hammersmith and City line platform that the signal finally gave out. That is really impressive, if you ask me. That was a journey mostly done underground, and mobile coverage has really improved. Also, most impressive, at least for me, is that the station still sounds as consistently good as it did 11 years ago, with almost the same imaging as well. Thank you to our many supporters, including Radio.co, Media Results Inc., Broadcast Radio and Play It Software for being regular supporters. If you'd like to support my work in any way, buymeacoffee.com/JamesCredland is where to go. You can also follow me on the socials. My website has more details about who I am, what I do, and whether I can help you further. You'll find that at james.cridland.net. And until next time, keep listening.